Remove the movement from the movement holder, turn it over to the dial side, and replace it into the movement holder. Now to begin to remove the fork and coil assembly. Remove the 2 fork screws. Notice the shape of the chamfered heads. When tightened, these wedge into the base of the fork. This prevents them from loosening by the vibration of the fork. There are only 2 screws of this shape in the movement. You must be sure not to use any other type of screw when installing the fork. Carefully raise the base of the fork with tweezers only at the very base. Never pry up the tines. This could bend the fork and change its frequency. If the fork is very tight and cannot be loosened by a little prodding, then the movement must be turned over. There is a hole provided in the plate on the bridge side just above the anchoring base of the fork. A post-bending tool or a screwdriver of proper size can be pushed into the hole to dislodge it. Turn the movement over to the dial side and raise the base of the fork to an upright position. Be careful of the index finger attached to the tine of the fork. Remove the 2 screws that hold the coil lead retaining plate and the plate itself. The earliest models did not have this part. Drop the fork back to its normal position. Remove the 4 coil holding screws. Pick up the coil assembly and the fork with the tweezers, holding by the coil form only. Be careful not to damage the windings or the leads. If you desire, you may do it another way. Hold the movement by the working stem in the right hand. With the left hand, place the inverted movement holder on top of the suspended movement. Then invert the whole assembly, lay them down on a bench, and the coil and fork will drop out of the movement into the movement holder. Sometimes a little prodding is necessary. The coil can now be separated from the fork and put aside. The movement is now ready for the ultrasonic cleaning machine. If the movement is very dirty or pivots and cap jewels are badly contaminated, remove the 2 upper cap jewels to allow thorough cleaning of the hole jewels. The index wheel should be left in the movement for cleaning to prevent damage to it from bumping into other parts in the basket. The index wheel is so delicate, the 300 teeth are so soft and fine that it can be damaged very easily. Once it is bumped on its edge by another part or with tweezers, it can flatten 5 or more teeth and become completely useless and must be replaced with a new one. Here is a picture of a damaged index wheel magnified 1,000 times to show what can happen to an index wheel when the second hand is moved backward or forward. Here is an index wheel magnified 2,000 times, which has touched with a tweezer and the teeth were flattened. The index wheel can be cleaned separately by placing it into a special tool made for this purpose so that the wheel teeth are not exposed and are in no danger of damage. A good ultrasonic cleaning machine is a must. Good fresh solution is recommended so that the dirt will be dislodged from very fine teeth. On very dirty or gummy watches, where the dirt is particularly stubborn, some watchmakers hold the index wheel in a pin vise by its lower arbor and use a jewelry steam cleaner. The wheel arbor must be very secure in the pin vise. Otherwise, it can be blown away, lost, or damaged. The fork can be cleaned by several different ways. You should always have fresh, clean solutions. If you don't, metal chips in the solution will be attracted to the magnets. One way is to place the fork separately in a cleaning basket if you have a compartment suited for it, so that the index finger, which is attached to the right tine, will not be damaged. If you are using a machine with a magnetic transducer, such as the Watchmaster Mark IV shown in the previous picture, you must be careful not to demagnetize the fork. In this case, hold the fork with your non-magnetic tweezers through the holes in the base, immerse the fork into the cleaning solution, turn the machine on for about 1 minute, then turn the machine off. Only then remove the fork from the solution. Never remove it while the machine is running because it will demagnetize the fork. The third way, another good way of cleaning the fork is to place it back into the movement, held by one fork screw. Run it through with the rest of the watch in your regular ultrasonic cleaning machine. All other loose parts should be put into the small parts basket or separate compartment of your regular cleaning basket. Never put the coil assembly into the cleaning machine or into any cleaning solution. If dirty, brush it off or dab it with Radico or a similar product. Cleaning solutions will damage the coil. Now for assembly. If the upper cap jewels have been removed for cleaning, now is the time to oil the upper pivots before replacing the jewels. If the upper cap jewels were not removed for cleaning, you now must remove the train bridge to oil the upper index and second wheel jewels in the bridge. Then replace the train bridge. Now oil all the upper pivots and jewels. This is a center wheel to show you the friction system. The whole center post turns in the wheel. The curved friction washer under the hub allows the post to turn without too much friction, which could turn the train wheels and damage the index wheel. To oil the friction system, push down on the center wheel, and with a small oiler, place a small amount of oil between the center wheel and the hub. Also do this on the other side where the friction spring is. This will prevent wear and slippage later. Loosen the center wheel bridge screw. Push aside the sweep-second tension spring to the left and tighten the screw. This will give you a clear shot with your microscope later to view the index and pawl jewels in relation to the index wheel as to centering and perpendicularity to the wheel. The index and pawl jewel might have to be adjusted when pre-positioning the index and pawl jewel before phasing. Turn the movement over to the dial side. Oil the bottom index and second wheel pivots and replace the double cap jewel. Oil the other jewels on the dial side. Oil the sweep second pinion bushing in the center post. Oil the center wheel post and replace the cannon pinion. If the fork was left in the pillar plate for cleaning, remove it at this time. Turn the movement over to the back side. With the microscope, practice sighting through the cell hatch with the movement in the vertical position to locate the index wheel and pawl jewel. This area is best illuminated through the safety bridge opening. You will see the edge of the index wheel and the pawl jewel near it, or resting on the edge of it. You might have to adjust the focus downward a little to make it clear and adjust the microscope light source in just the right position to reflect the light to the wheel and pawl jewel. It might take several attempts to see the wheel and jewel and to get the knack of finding them. After you have done it a few times and got the knack of doing it, you will find the right position for seeing the index wheel and jewels quite easily. Adjust the pawl finger so that the jewel is centered and perpendicular to the wheel. Examine the fork magnets and remove any foreign matter and chips of metal that might be stuck to the magnet with Radico or a similar product, or Scotch tape shaped into a small cone like this. Also examine the coil assembly for dirt or chips. Brush off any foreign matter or remove them with Radico or a similar product. Lay the fork on top of the coil assembly. Spread the coil assembly slightly and insert the coil windings into the fork cups carefully. Do not scratch the coil winding wire. Squeeze the coil back into the fork cups. Carefully carry the fork and coil assembly with tweezers and place into the movement, pushing the coil form together so that it fits into the plate properly. The fork will also drop into place. Replace the coil screws, but do not tighten them at this time. Raise the fork tail or base to stand up. Then push the coil lead wires into the groove before tightening the fork coil form screws. Otherwise, you might pinch the wires in the lower right-hand groove and cause a short circuit to the plate, or even cut the wire completely. Replace the coil lead retaining plate. Be sure you use the short countersunk flathead screws that when tightened fit flush with the retaining plate. If one should loosen because of vibration and back out, it would touch the fork and interfere with the vibration of the fork, causing stoppage or gaining time excessively. Caution, the safety bridge screw is the same shape except longer. Do not use this screw here because you will need it for a safety bridge later. Drop the standing fork, press into place over the post, then put the two fork screws, tightening both evenly and firmly so that they will not back out because of vibration. Then tighten the coil form screws. Carefully lift the index finger until the index jewel rests on the edge of the index wheel.